my orange cat Julius, my pug Sadie, my pug Tino, and my Maine Coon Owen. Here's a story about growing up in Canada. Back in 1975, when I was 14 or 15, I had a girlfriend, probably my second girlfriend. And she taught a lot to me about life. And now I realize that she used me, but for her own benefit, and God bless her. She was a East Indian woman. Back in Selkirk, Manitoba, where we lived, we had a textile plant. It's called the Electronet, and that's when the first East Indian immigrants came, way back then. That's a long time ago. So she hung on to me. She started following me around and talking to me. Then we started, hanging out and kissing and doing things what teenagers do when you fall in love, right? And here's how she used me. She lived in a low rental area, and so did a lot of white people, white trash, you want to call them. One of my best friend's mothers lived there, and white trash, whatever. But her father was a doctor, a study, I guess. There, he was University of Manitoba, but he lived in Selkirk. Worked at Electronet on his spare time. His wife worked there. All his family worked there. There was a whole bunch of them. Two brothers my age, and they didn't like me at all because I'm white and I'm kissing their sister, right? And the dad didn't like me. He refused to even look at me. Oh, whatever. I didn't know the hatred back then. I thought it was just, what? You're in a white trash apartment. What are you upset about? So about a year later, we were getting serious, and she came to me and she was crying. She said, "Brian, I heard something horrible, and we can't talk in my house because my dad didn't like East Indians." So we had always a go-to. It was my friend's house with the mother, and the mother was listening, minding her own business, but she was listening, She was doing dishes, and she said, my brother came up to me and he was all bragging, you're gone, you're going back to India. They have a marriage for you. You're going there and you're going to get married. And you can't do nothing about it. So you say goodbye to Brian. And I'm like, okay, well, I didn't know what to say. But this woman, my friend's mother, she was around the block a lot, An expression. She knew what to say to this woman. She said, how are you going home? And she said, well, they're going to surprise me and take me to Winnipeg. And then they're going to put me and my dad on the airplane. And she says, I can't do anything about it. And this woman just started laughing. She said, no, you can do everything about it. You want to stop this game they're playing on you? You want to marry that guy? She's like, no, I don't want to marry anybody. Not even Brian. And I'm like, okay. But she said, what you got to do, darling? And she was listening to every word this woman spoke. And she said, when you get to the airport, you get all the way, buy the ticket and everything. And when you're about to board that plane, you freak the F out. I'm not going. And that's exactly what she did. But before she left the house, the father instilled a beating on her. Beat her to a pulp under her dress where there was no bruises. And at the airport, they said, why is this little girl freaking out? Why? What's wrong? Oh, she's retarded. That's what the dad was saying. And she said, he's beating me and he wants to take me to India to marry a guy that's 3 years younger than me. And I'm only 14, she said. and the customs said, show me your body. You know, they had women customs back then, and they took off her dress and they could see the welts using a belt. They beating the shit out of her, eh? Piece of crap. And he's a doctor, meant to heal, right? But she ended up getting kicked off the plane, and she said they put her in a Child Family Services, CFS. They put her in there. And that's where she stayed for 3 years. And then about 10 years later, I was at Health Science Center in Winnipeg. And she was probably like a third-year intern at that time. And she came up to me and hugged me, and she didn't kiss me because, you know, we weren't friends at the time, but she said, "Thank you, Brian." And I didn't recognize her, and I'm like, "Well, who are you?" And she said, "I am a Benita." And I'm like, "Oh, Jesus, I thought you got sent home to be with your 13-year-old husband." And she started laughing. She said, "No, Child Family Services in Canada put a stop to that. I was in foster homes for 3-4 years, but I had enough money saved that she had jobs, and she educated herself, and now she's a doctor like her dad." And one thing about that, I hope her dad and mom come to love her again. You know, such is life, eh? I have a nephew that's East Indian. 30 years later, I have two niece and nephew that are half Chinese. Funny how the life is. So, you know, don't hate immigrants. Everybody's an immigrant. Except me, I'm status Indian. My mom's family's been here for 15,000 years. God love life in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada.